7.5 million students miss a month of school each year. That kind of chronic absenteeism puts them at risk for dropping out. What's going on locally to keep kids going to school? And the London Olympics are right around the corner, and a marching band from Detroit could be front and center. We find out what they're doing to get across the pond. Plus, soon downtown Detroit will be dressed in pink. It's all coming up on American Black Journal. Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. This week, students at Warren's Lincoln High had a new principal for a day, Detroit rapper Big Sean. The students earned that visit when they won the Get School Detroit Attendance Challenge. School attendance at Lincoln High has increased by 8.5% over a 10-week period. Two of the local partners for the challenge are here today. The Vice President of Education Preparedness for United Way of Southeast Michigan, Mike Tenbusch, and the Assistant Secretary for the General Motors Foundation, Sherry Marshall. Welcome to ABJ.
Great to be back. Thank you, Stephen.
Tell me a little bit about this Get Schooled program. What is that all about?
It's really about how do we help our kids build the habits for success of getting to school every day. And it started, quite frankly, 4 years ago in Detroit when the United Way said we've got to really figure out a way to make schools great again. They had been failing for a long time, and we've partnered with school leaders and union leaders and teachers to make schools great that hadn't served their kids well for a long time.
Right.
Last year, GM came in and said, that's what we need in this region. Let's get twice as many. And then that attracted things like Viacom, has 100 media markets across the country, has been working for a long time on how can we use our talent to improve attendance rates and help America grow.
And so the challenge works how, from GM's standpoint?
Well, it was through a partnership that we have with Viacom. They heard about what we were doing and they were excited. And they actually have a national program that was open to all high schools, but they decided to do a concentrated effort here in the city of Detroit. And the way it works is that students get measured on their attendance. They also can participate in other kinds of activities to build their school spirit, like nominating teachers that they think are doing a really great job and are having a significant impact on their learning and on their lives. They were able to create videos and submit those to a contest to talk about their school. And all of these activities really help reinforce with the students their enthusiasm with school. There were also wake-up calls from celebrities that would wake the kids up so that they, would be on time.
Get up and go to school, right?
Yeah, and so forth. And it was just such a positive contest from beginning to end, and culminating with the end result of Big Sean. That was pretty exciting.
Right. Mike, I know at United Way you guys are really involved with a bunch of different schools in Detroit, and this really was the model that you guys built those schools around, the idea of attendance, that you really focused in on absenteeism as a driver of other issues in those schools.
Absolutely. Absenteeism and accountability.
Right.
Schools have transformed themselves so that each teacher is aware of, has 20 kids from freshman orientation in high school to freshman orientation in college, which is kind of rethinking the way a teacher thinks about his or her job.
And when you say has those kids, they have those kids in the sense that they're in their classes, but
more like a family.
It's
like
more, but it's more
every
than
day
that,
for 20 minutes a day, or a couple times a week for 45 minutes, but really structured on what do you need to do to be in college 4 years from now. And what we learned and what we knew was that those kids who were missing 20 or more days of school and failing 2 or more classes were on track to drop out.
Right.
And so those teachers have really, with our community and corporate partners, wrapped their arms around, if it's September 30th and the kid has missed 4 days, okay, Stephen, you're on your way to drop out. What can we do to make sure to get you ready?
Right.
And
it's not just, you're not just working with schools in Detroit. I mean, the winner here is Lincoln High School in Warren, which may be a place that people don't think of as having these kind of issues.
So this is a beautiful part of what's happened in our region in the last few years is so many traditional barriers of maybe race and geography have been broken down.
They're just gone away.
Yes, and so you see Van Dyke Lincoln and then East Detroit and the Detroit Cody and Detroit Osborne is just 4 of 17 different schools that are all working together now to figure out best practices, get get together monthly as school leaders and teachers to make sure that each school has what their kids need to be successful.
Right.
And that's a different region than one that we grew up in.
So what's the interest from the General Motors? I mean, the General Motors Foundation might seem an odd sort of sponsor for something like this. What's the thinking there in terms of being involved with this?
Well, education is our biggest focus at the GM Foundation, and we understand how important that is to the future of our country and to the future workforce for our industry, and everyone's economic livelihood and the places where our facilities are located and such. And so this being our headquarters area, and we have a lot of employees who are working in the surrounding areas and want to get involved, want to go and reach out to the schools and participate in activities, and so it was just such a natural fit.
Right. What surprised you? I mean, you've been doing this for a while now in Detroit and these other schools. You guys are close to the first graduating class, is that right?
Yeah, the next year will be the first graduating class.
The first graduating class.
Schools, correct.
What have you guys learned about these kids and their lives and this problem? How this problem sort of shapes their lives in those schools over that time?
Wow, a couple of things. On the really challenging side, we did some research and found that in Detroit schools, a kid would on average, historically, miss 16 days of school on average in elementary school, 32 by middle school, 46 by high school. So on one side,
it starts when they're little.
Yeah, so we're building this kind of habit
and snowballs
of failure, right?
Right.
And this is what's amazing, though, Stephen, how quickly schools and kids can just transform their lives and their schools. And so what we're seeing in our schools now is kids are saying, wow, for the first time I feel like I have this family environment that I love. I love this school. And now they're saying, we've got to figure out a way to make our community safer and better. And so when you see some of the crazy things that are happening these days,
sure,
I'm convinced that the ones who are going to fix this, not those over 40 and 50, but it's really the young folks coming up.
That it's the kids who are living
They're
there.
really fired up about changing their community to make them as good as their school.
What are you guys seeing in terms of the relationship between attendance and academic achievement? And that's the real sort of holy grail in education, right? Is getting these kids to the point where they're not just showing up but performing. What's the sort of arc of that progress in those schools?
Well, statistically, if a kid's missing 5 or less days, they're going to have a 50% higher shot at graduation than one missing 15 or more. Okay. So you just got to be in school. You got to have seat time.
Right. So graduation rates automatically go up
increase by 50%.
Wow.
Just fix that. But what we're seeing in our first class just took their ACT scores, and we're seeing increases of a full point. So schools that were as low as in the high 13s are now in the high 14s. That's still, we have a long, long way to go.
Right.
But to grow a point in the first year to do it is great. Schools that are 16 are now to 17. So you're seeing people trend up by a point on average. And again, way too low for what Michigan needs from our kids and our communities.
Right.
But we have to be trending in the right direction.
The right way. So we're going to do this challenge again next year and get another Michigan school to win?
That would be great.
That would be is that the goal?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. That's a great segment. I told you it'd go fast.
Great to see you, Stephen. Thank you.
We'll be back with more ABJ in a minute.